You are listening to a Fangirls Going Rogue priority transmission.
All team, give it everything you got!
It's time to fangirl flail with Fangirls Going Rogue.
Count me in. I don't think there's anything more important in the Star Wars universe than the fans.
News, discussion, and commentary from the female point of view.
You call this a diplomatic solution?
No, I call it aggressive negotiations.
With your hosts, Teresa Delgado, Tricia Barr, and Sarah Woloski.
Boy, am I glad to hear your voice.
Strap in, because this is where the fun begins.
I like the sound of that.
Hey guys, we are here. We are fresh back from Star Wars Celebration Europe. I'm not, Sarah's not, but Tricia is. So we are all here to talk about everything that came out of Star Wars Celebration. Well, not everything, but the press event exclusives that Tricia got for Fangirls Going Rogue. So Tricia, how was London?
London was not rainy. It was quite beautiful weather. Yeah, but we were inside, so it was very nice from the very short walk from the hotel to the inside the convention center because everything was very conveniently located. So it was a nice celebration. Definitely different than America, but nice still.
Excellent.
Was this your first? Well, it had to have been because we did Celebration Europe on YouTube. I was like, is this your first Celebration Europe?
I know, we were such dorks because we stayed up and we talked about it. We talked about Kathleen Kennedy and we researched everything. And
No, I'm not going to lie, Tricia. I was actually kind of sad and bummed because you were not on the couch with me like last time. And I might have to keep you from going again.
You know, it was funny because I'm used to tweeting and everybody responding, but everybody was still in bed for a lot of this stuff. So you're like, oh, yay. And then you're like, none of my friends are reacting. I must be really tweeting about stupid stuff or nobody cares. And I'm like, oh, they're still in bed. So,
exactly. We don't care, Tricia.
Would you get reactions like 5 hours later or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden you're going to bed and your Twitter's lighting up and people want to know things. So that was the kind of the crazy part. But did you guys watch the live streams? Did you participate or did you just pass it all by? Oh yeah, everybody participated.
Yeah, I found it was perfect because they would post like the major panel of the day at 8 a.m. Pacific, so Richard and I would get out of bed at like 7:15, 7:30, turn on the live stream while it was, doing some things, and Andy Gutierrez was like interviewing someone, and we'd be making breakfast, and then by the time we were ready for breakfast, our eggs and bacon, we'd be watching, the main panel, like the Rogue One panel, or the next day, what was Saturday's main panel?
Rebels.
Yeah, Star Wars Rebels. Oh my gosh, that was so amazing. Yeah, and then the closing ceremony. So it was awesome over here. And now all week we've been watching, various panels too. Like we just finished up Carrie Fisher's panel.
Well, and I didn't think I was going to be able to because I was going to be at work, and then my schedule got changed around, and so I actually was able to watch the Rogue One and the Rebels panel. And Sarah can tell you, the Rebels panel's going on, and I'm like blowing up her phone. I'm like, answer! Because I was freaking out. And she's like, we're watching right now, I'll talk after. And I'm like, okay.
Silly. Yeah, you can't pause a live stream.
No, but you can call people because you're so excited.
I know.
I felt like I had to call somebody or I was going to pee my pants.
Was it the Thrawn that excited you, or?
It was. And, it's funny, we just talked about this on the episode of Star Wars Bookworms, episode 59, that will be coming out this week, how excited I was about Thrawn, even though I know nothing about him except for what he looks like and that he's important. But I was like, yeah, I know I'm supposed to be excited about this. This is amazing. Yeah. Woo. And then I'm like, I guess I need to read Heir of the Empire.
Yeah, that's really funny that you were so excited. Now, I know, Tricia, I've talked to you about my excitement, but for you, what did you think about Thrawn? Like, how does he sit with you in your fandom?
Well, one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite bad guys. He's just a really cool character, and I love that Dave Filoni just said they had to go to Timothy Zahn, and without Timothy Zahn's books, Star Wars might have not survived. I mean, he really filled in that gap and gave us some fun times when everybody's like, well, we may not have any movies. We had to use our imaginations and think about what he looked like and who he was. And, a lot of the people working on Star Wars Rebels, they were fans of the books too. So I felt like as the scene unfolded that you're like, oh my gosh, this is Thrawn. Like everything, it would be like what you imagined, and they weren't saying Thrawn, and you're just like, please don't dash my hopes and say that's director dude bro or something, It's like you sort of. But there had been teases, Ahsoka has that line, there's truth in legends, and Dave Filoni had given a little bit of something about expanding your universe when he tweeted, and I was pretty solid that we were gonna get something really exciting from that era of storytelling, and I felt like Thrawn would be a really natural way to go. So, to be honest, the air in that panel, the way the reaction went, that was the most excited I've seen at the whole convention. Was that moment?
Yeah.
And sort of it was really cool too to see them finally, because obviously they've been like biting their tongues for a long time. So, and I was looking through some stuff doing research, and people asked about Thrawn and the original and the expanded universe like a year ago, and obviously they were working on it, and he couldn't say anything, and it was funny to see, okay, now they got to do it, and they certainly got the reaction. And then of course people are like, is that Dash Rendar? Is that, and we're going to see Mara, and they got, then the follow-up questions. He's like, hold on, you got something.
Right. Wow.
Well, with Thrawn, just really quick, and I don't know if you saw it or heard it while you were there, but there's everybody that's really excited about Thrawn, and we're getting a new Thrawn novel titled Thrawn, written by Timothy Zahn, which I feel like is just appropriate and perfect.
Yes.
But there's already criticism out there by the Bring Back Legends group of people that is saying that Timothy Zahn has sold out and all of this other stuff. And I was just curious to get y'all's take on it, because Tricia, I know, and even Sarah, I know that Heir of the Empire and the Thrawn trilogy is kind of like quintessential as far as your Star Wars goes and getting into books. I mean, obviously, I'm the odd man out. I haven't read them. But for you guys, when you start hearing those comments, are you just like, oh my gosh, enough?
It's really weird because Star Wars is the only place where you see this subset of fans that aren't willing to, they have the, and I'm going to go, Lucasfilm sort of bred this fan. They built into that mindset of continuity. And then when they took it away, that was the fandom they were feeding at the most. And so they ended up with this kind of subset of fans that were really unwilling to taste anything different. So to me, a character is a character, and a character can go in any number of ways. Sherlock, I love all different forms of Sherlock. I can imagine all different alternate realities for Star Wars characters. We all read comics where things can go many different ways. I like that. So I think Zahn is, if there were going to be anybody to write Thrawn, he has to do it. Sarah?
Yeah, I haven't heard these dissenters, but I think what you said is, perfectly on point with that. And if anything, like, I always ignore things that are negative in Star Wars, and I tend to just, focus on the positive. That's just the kind of person I am. So I haven't heard that, so I'm glad I haven't, and I will continue to think that Thrawn is awesome, and I look forward to seeing him in Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of an important part of fandom, especially when it comes to books. And maybe it's because, like, doing the books podcast, but I feel like it's important to sort of acknowledge, because I remember when I hosted a panel at Dragon Con, and I was sitting next to Timothy Zahn, and I remember asking him the question of, if you could write in the new canon, would you? And would you, is there a character you'd like to write? And I just remember him saying, I don't know if that opportunity will ever come. Like, he was very much sort of settled in that, like, he may not ever be asked. And so I feel like this has got to be just an amazing moment for him, and I'm so excited because getting to spend time with him in person and everything. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for him.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So Tricia, you got to speak with some of the people behind Star Wars Rebels. Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, so we got the opportunity. Usually we do this press stuff before we see anything, and so we don't know what to ask. It's sort of like that. What's going to happen? So we got to see Star Wars Rebels. Then they had a Star Wars Rebels press conference, which there's been a lot of recaps and discussion. You saw people tweeting. We have the full audio. It will be up, but we did get the opportunity, along with many other media sites, to speak exclusively one-on-one to Tiya Sircar, who's Sabine Wren, who was there for the panel, and also to Sam Witwer. So I, blasted out because I was like, hey guys, we got to ask questions. And there ended up it was pretty tight in the schedule. We should have gotten a little more time, but we did get to talk to Tia for a little bit. And I started out with a question from Tricia. So let's go ahead and listen to what she said about Sabine and this upcoming season.
All right. Thank you so much for taking time.
Absolutely.
All right. Teresa wanted to know from the show, what is one direction note Dave has given you that you found the most challenging while recording Star Wars Rebels?
Gosh. Well, I don't know if I should say that we had let me think if I should talk about this. We had a quite emotional episode. And I think, and Dave was so great that he was very considerate of like what I might need to sort of get there, because we don't sort of, especially in animation, there's not a lot of like really emotional moments that you get to like really explore as a voice actor as we might get to on camera. So this was quite a little bit daunting, but also kind of thrilling that he was giving me this opportunity to sort of have this episode where there's like some heavy stuff, and she, you don't think of Sabine as an emotional person, and I certainly don't. She's always so strong and poised, but she has this. I'm trying not to say too much. Some moments where she really is grappling with stuff that she hasn't had to for a long time, and it affects her deeply. So it was challenging in that I've never had to do that as a voice actor, and so that sort of entails its own challenges where you're not actually on camera. But also Sabine hasn't really experienced, I've never sort of had to be emotional as Sabine, so or vulnerable, I should say, as Sabine. So that was a little bit challenging. But Dave was great. He sort of really was there for me and the other people that are in that scenario. I won't tell you who, but just really supportive and like whatever we needed to really give that performance. It was great.
Great, thank you. So we know that you have some castmates who are very into Star Wars, and they brought in Thrawn. We now get to see that. Did you get to learn about that? Did you study a little on him, or did you learn from your castmates? And did they tell you anything about his way he studies art and artists to know about people?
Yeah, well, Dave told me that. But yeah, it's so fun to be, as you know, we record as a cast, and so it's just, us hanging out and doing a little recording while we're hanging out, it feels like. But it is so nice to have Freddie on the one side, Vanessa over there, who, of course, between the two of them and Dave, it's like ridiculous. And then you throw Sam into the mix, and so it's like a walking encyclopedia of Star Wars knowledge, and there's no end to like their like the wealth of knowledge amongst the four of them. So yeah, when things come up that say like Taylor doesn't know or I don't know, or the two of us are like, who, what, huh? Yeah, they're and Dave is like such a storyteller that he like is so willing to sort of take a moment and say, like, this is why this is important, and this is what you don't know, and this is why it's cool, and this is why people are going to freak out when they see it.
Yes,
so it's nice, yeah.
It made me a little nervous for Sabine, just seeing that he studies art and she's an artist. So
yeah, I'm kind of intrigued how that's going to go for her. I mean, yeah, we'll see. I don't want to give too much away, but Thrawn is a scary dude, and watching him yesterday, I hadn't seen him animated obviously yet. Ooh, that gave me chills.
Absolutely. And then I noticed a little bit, you were the steady warrior, and you've been, fighting the war, and Ezra came in later, and then in the episode we saw there seemed to be a little bit of tension maybe in him now being a leader, and Sabine maybe questioning some decision he's making. Is that hard after being a family last season, really coming together?
Well, I think, when Ezra showed up in season 1, I think Sabine was by far the most skeptical of, like, who is this punk kid, and why do we need to, like, take him, bring him in as a member of the crew. And of course over season 1 and especially over season 2, that any suspicion or hesitation subsided. I think, and of course they have like this super strong bond now, they're family. I think in season 3 at the beginning I feel like she's the only one that like notices like something weird is going on with Ezra, and she's like, does anyone else see what's happening here, and why are we not concerned about this? So I think it's more concern and curiosity, that I think she's onto something and she wants to know what it is, because she's so sharp, and she's also so observant that she immediately senses like there's something wrong here and we don't know what's going on. But of course everyone is grappling with, as Kanan's got, I bet I need to wrap this up. Anyway, so I think that there is tension, but it may have also something to do with the fact that he's like suddenly bossing her around because he's in charge, and Sabine doesn't take kindly to that. If she's going to take direction from anyone, she wants it to be Hera or Kanan. So I think there is. I mean, it's not like a resentment. It's more just like this guy. He's like trying to flex his muscle, and she's like, take it easy. But I think there is that added element of like sort of concern about what's going on with him and what's at a deeper level, and so we'll see that play out.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
With Tia's answer there, I mean, I've kind of heard that. I think we've all heard that from people who've worked with Dave Filoni, like Ashley and Vanessa. I think even Freddie Prinze Jr. has said that Dave's direction is always really good, and he always keeps stuff from them too. So he only tells them like a quarter of what they absolutely like have to know.
Yeah, it's like a need to know basis, basically. It's like being in the CIA or something.
Well, T even joked in the big press conference with everybody that they all recognize the fact that Dave Filoni will you'll ask him a question and he'll give you an answer, and then you realize that you didn't really get the answer to the question you asked. So we're right back to Sarah's experience.
It's like what is it? The press conference in Zootopia, where they ask you a question and you answer them with a question and answer that question. That's what Dave Filoni does.
Exactly. So we were getting down to the end of the line, and we were running up on a time limit because Brian Young, Paul Bateman, and myself were all scheduled for interviews with Dave Filoni. We had the roundtable, which you hear in a minute. So we were allowed one question with Sam Witwer. And he's like, we've all talked about it. He's like the guy we would love to have on the show. He's always so insightful. So I threw him a lob because knowing and having listened to Sam talk about Star Wars, I threw him a lob and let him run with it. So I probably got like 8 questions worth out of one question, but we'll let Sam roll with it and talk a little Darth Maul.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Hi, it's Tricia from Fangirls Going Rogue. So
awesome. Hello, Tricia.
Hi. We're going to ask one question. All right. So you've played Aiden on Being Human, and you also Mr. Hyde on Once Upon a Time, right. Emperor and Maul.
What's wrong with me? Is that your question?
I want to know what's your fascination with the Jungian archetypes of the shadow. What makes you go there?
I don't know. I don't know why it is that I keep getting hired for these things. I mean, I think what it is that I don't know, on some level, I remember Anna Fricke said about Being Human, because Aiden eventually ended up to be a funnier character than he started out. And but she once said, like, the reason you got hired is that you were the only one that could make us believe that you'd really been through some stuff, or that you'd killed someone, or that you'd done some things. Everyone else apparently was like, just very surface. And so I think when it comes to these villains, I think if you're going to play, for example, Ezra, Taylor is a great choice because he's so enthusiastic, exuberant, young, and he has this innocence and this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed thing that he's got going on. For whatever reason, I can give you the opposite. I don't know. I guess it's... you have to bring a certain level of gravitas because the things that these characters are playing with are very serious things. They're very harmful things, and they're things that end up staining the soul of anyone that dabbles in this stuff. So it's why in Star Wars Rebels, the whole thing with the holocron, the whole significance of that artifact, the Sith repository of knowledge, that's like a library of information. Darth Maul was trying to get it, but he's delighted where it ended up. He's happy that Ezra has it. He even meeting Darth Maul, it opened the door a little bit to Ezra, showed him a different way of thinking about things or doing things. It showed him how effective different methods could be. And Ezra's, of course, saying, well, why aren't we doing this against the Empire? Why aren't we using these techniques? Why aren't we thinking about it this way? And Kanan's like, I can't explain it right now, but don't do it that way. And so now here Ezra has this thing to research that's putting all kinds of other ideas in his head. So Maul couldn't be happier because ultimately what he represents in the show is Maul... Thrawn is the everyday, practical, boots on the ground. We're fighting this guy. He is a very practical, very fierce and serious threat. Maul is a theological threat. Maul is a moral threat. Maul is what these characters are fighting within themselves. Maul is a character that if you fight him too much, it's going to change you. And that's the fun thing about doing this stuff. It's a very rambly...
That's fine. Thank you for taking the time.
Editorialize that,
no,
and I'm sure you got something.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All I was thinking was, I wish that I could just let Teresa insert in and listen to Sam Witwer talk about.
See, what really needs to happen is we need to get an interview scheduled for the show with Sam Witwer, and then, no offense, but I'm not going to invite either one of you.
Hey.
It's just going to be, we're going to title that, it's going to be a priority transmission, I've already decided, and it's going to be Teresa's date with Sam Witwer.
Whoa. And his pregnant wife, so you better watch out.
With Darth Maul. We'll go with Darth Maul. And then I'll just have him talk to me, answer all questions as Darth Maul the entire time.
Well, that's what I wanted to do. If I could have asked him multiple questions, I would have been like, okay, now I'm going to ask you this question. I want you to answer in the voice of the Emperor. And yeah.
Or just like we should ask the Emperor and Darth Maul questions and then just have him answer.
Well, and he does a pretty mean Ewok, too.
He does.
Oh, perfect.
That was hilarious, by the way.
Yeah. I was like, please, Sarah, can we snip that out and just put that at the end of the show? He did the whole little wicked thing. So during the panel.
That's right. Okay, let me make a note of that, because yay.
This is, so now, literally, we're all running down to the different location where Dave Filoni's doing these press roundtables, and he's got international press. They're all doing the same thing that, Teresa, you did with Freddie Prinze, Jr. back in Celebration Anaheim, where you get to sit down and you get to ask a limited time to ask questions. So we're running down, and luckily I had figured out that if you're coming as press, you could bring a camera person or somebody to document, or if you have somebody filming. So I had asked BJ, who's from Fangirl Blog, to come down and take some pictures while we were in with Dave Filoni, because I'm like, dude, this is like a moment. So in all this chaos of running back and forth, he was in the elevator by himself. He had worn this Boyega shirt. It's like but the Bazinga shirt that what's his name wears on Big Bang Theory. Well, there's a shirt out there that's Boyega. It says Boyega, and it looks just like that. So he's in the elevator, and this girl looks over, and she's got two guys with her that are obviously handlers, and she says, "Oh my gosh, that shirt's so cool." Well, BJ realizes he is in the elevator with Kelly Marie Tran, who is one of the co-stars of episode 8. She is supposedly the character who did chemistry testing with John Boyega. So he just goes, "Are you Kelly Marie Tran?" And she's like, "Yes, I am." So he, on the way to the press events, he got to meet a star of the next movie. So too bad we couldn't get an interview with her too. But she didn't get introduced, but her name did get dropped in the future filmmakers panel. So that's kind of a cool little things that happen at the con type of story. So then we were all waiting outside, and Chrissy Wu, who does the Disney press handling, and she's out there, and she says, "Oh, like you guys seem like you're way more friendly than a lot of the other media." And we're like, "Yeah, we're like podcasters, we're like friends,
we know
and
each
everything."
other.
Yeah, and then we walked in, and Tracy Canobio was like, "Oh, look, it's my family coming in," and Dave Filoni saw his 6 podcasters coming in to sit down to the table, and his reaction was a little more like, "Uh-oh, these are the guys who are really going to ask me the tough questions." So you will hear, here we go, you will hear Brian Young, me, Paul Bateman, James Burns, and Lucas Eagle ask our questions.
Tricia is in this.
What's up, buddy? Oh my goodness! Look at this, a dangerous group.
I know. Look
at a very dangerous group. Oh my God!
Hey, first off,
how did this happen?
First off,
are the loaf cats? How are they? Are there any unadopted loaf cats downstairs? Did you go get them?
There were some there when I got mine this morning.
Okay, go make sure.
I got 2.
We don't want any left over. I feel so sad.
It's so great.
You get one of those kids when you were little that, like, when you pass a stuffed animal, you feel bad for it?
Yeah.
Which completely makes no sense. But you look at it, you're like, "Oh, Mom, this little thing, it needs to go home." And you're like, "That's completely irrational." And then later in the day, you think about it and you feel like a horrible person. Anyway, let's talk Star Wars. I know you want to. What do you got?
Go for it. Well, I could start with movies that I should maybe be watching for.
Oh, your movie list? Good grief.
Hey,
I should always prepare that for you.
I've done 70 of those columns for the website.
Uh-huh.
I need more material.
We will need more material. Come on.
All you need to do is start reaching for it. It really could be anything. What was it? I mean, this year, I'm trying to think. Well, I've been watching Patton recently. Patton's always an influence. A lot of it is just the same things that keep cropping up for me. I'm always influenced by Empire of the Sun. Patton is a big war movie influence. More this time, I would say, in some ways, with books, because of Bombadil and Tolkien and getting into that type of more mythological lore. There's some influence there. It was really thrilling to see how many people were scrambling to look up all the weird things I was talking about at the end of the finale last year. So that was kind of neat if they were actually trying to read up on what all these symbolic themes are and what does an owl represent. And so that was kind of fun because they are digging at the right things metaphorically. So a lot of things are just related to things on Clone Wars this year. I'm trying to still keep things in a New Hope vibe, America Graffiti, THX, kind of backbones. But, my wife and I watch Turner Classic Movies like practically all day. If I come home and it's not a hockey game, that's what's on. So it's any array of things, which can be dangerous because I love Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. And so it's highly possible, that something like that could eventually get in. Not that it has. But
musical episode.
Road to Lothal.
Yeah, really. That would be fantastic. I have every single one of those, by the way.
Can you sing?
Let's not go there. But the thing for me is mainly that I just am constantly obsessed with how a lot of older films got made and how sometimes you need to rely on the actor's performance to create the staging. It's not about always cut like a lot of modern films do. Yeah. And how that really, I think, in a lot of ways was connecting us with characters more because we'd spend a lot of time in that one shot with them as they just kind of captured our heart, our imagination. So I ask the guys a lot of those things when we're shooting it. Later in the second half, it gets a little weird again, so you'll see. you can decode then. You always know anyway, though. I see what you jive it right.
Can I build off the lore that you were talking about, mythology? I noticed some green mist in the trailer.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yes, I did. So are we going to see anything with the Night Sisters, Mother Talzin? Any type of force magic?
That's highly possible. And that's in the trailer. You're the first ones asked about that. But, yeah, I mean, Maul comes with his own history, his people. So it seems like a logical thing, and we all like the Night Sisters. Of course, they didn't have a really, good outcome in the Clone War, thanks to Grievous, which is probably Matt Wood's highlight. But, that is a very similar effect that you're noticing there. Probably it's time for a frame-by-frame breakdown, which someone will do to try to see what's really in between there. Because you get excited about Thrawn, and everyone's, Thrawn, Wedge! But there's a lot of other little things.
There's a face in the mist right when it...
Yeah, there's a lot of other little things. Probably too much, but over the years, you guys are breaking me down. And if you want to know, you can know. But there's the things that I want you guys to know, and then there's the really special moments that I think I keep secret. But the rest of it is to say, no, you need to watch this, so come check it out. But it's more than probable.
Awesome.
In terms of how Maul is plotting his moves and plotting and scheming, like an expert chess player at the moment, it's expertly choreographed. Does he know what his next move is all the way down the line?
Maul has an end game in mind, I should say. He knows what he wants to do, and he's trying to figure out how to get at it. Maul in Rebels is different than, as Sam alluded to, he's ever been. Mm-hmm. It's not fun, or I find interesting in a character to have them keep showing up and being the same person. That's not true in life. There can be consistencies to who you are as a person. You might like a lot of the same things, but you're going to change and evolve. And Sam and I was saying, like, how the guy that confronts Obi-Wan Kenobi with the robotic legs, the dinosaur legs, and is screaming at him in front of fire in Clone Wars, is not even the same guy as he is on Mandalore when he's trying to become a proper ruler, right, of people. So he evolves quickly in Maul, but he's often left empty and feeling like he lacks purpose. So, I'm really interested to see how people deal with the story we're telling about Maul and what it means. And I think it's going to surprise people in the end, the way you look at him and the way you feel about him, which is always much more interesting.
But empty vessels make most noise.
Make what?
Empty vessels make most noise.
Well, we'll have to see. Sam makes a lot of noise, so in that regard, you're right. Love Sam.
Hey, Dave. Firstly, Jimmy and Jason say hi.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry that they can't be here.
I see that you have the required T-shirt on, representing.
I'm the
Very
British,
good.
The British brother. And so they asked me all kinds of questions, but in the end I just ignored them all, because the one question I wanted to ask you was, how have you resisted putting Mecha Zilla Beast in? Right, so and can we have Jimmy and Jason being the kind of reporters going like, oh my god, there's a giant Mecha Zilla Beast,
Well, I have this thing about wanting the show to be good. So that's why, I'm very careful. People ask me, like, why I don't, play more characters and things. Yeah. I'm like, I want the show to be good. That's why. So, Mechazilla Beast, that's interesting, but that's for somebody else probably later on when I'm old. And, I just don't think... He was supposed to be cloned anyway. That's what the Emperor was working on him. Jason and Jimmy as reporters, maybe if they were weird aliens.
Well, those two-headed things.
They are weird aliens.
Yeah, they are weird aliens. So, but I don't think so. I don't think they're SAG anyway.
So you have to get Kyle in there eventually, then, somehow.
You said a lot of really interesting things about the Force during the press conference. Talking about how the Jedi and the Sith are cute, and how the Jedi and the Sith actually have a really limited understanding of the Force. And those were some of my favorite moments in the Clone Wars, and even just Ezra's journey through the Force has been some of the best parts of Rebels so far. So how much can you explore, and in what directions do you want to explore the Force in Rebels?
Anything I do with the Force is just an extension of talks that I had with George, and George really opened this door on Mortis and on the priestesses to say that the Force is a bigger thing than a lot of people have pictured. It's not a device that just the Jedi and the Sith wield. As I understand the Force, and again, a lot of this I have to say, but like, well, I tried my best to digest what George was saying and study it. He will always be the ultimate master of that lore because he created it. I am just one person interpreting it, and I do the best I can, and I try to inform my opinions, to Kiri and the story group, and so there is some continuity going on. But, to me, when you talk about the Force is in everything that's alive. That's what Obi-Wan says originally, and that's true even in the days of midi-chlorians, which everybody's afraid to talk about, but I'm not. Because what that tells you is that when I was a kid, I believed that probably everybody had the Force and they just didn't believe. Midi-chlorians actually proves that theory out. We all have it. We just have it to differing degrees. And for a long time, I've used someone like Bruce Lee as an example of saying, well, he has, if you like, a lot of talent for martial arts or a very high midi-chlorian count. If I train in martial arts, can I learn martial arts? Yes. So I can improve my midi-chlorian count in that discipline. Will I be as good as Bruce Lee? No. That's not going to happen. It's not my talent. But we were always able to find real-world equivalencies to Star Wars to make these comparisons, that make it feel like it's a real thing. When I talk about force sensing, when I talk about how if you're standing there and you feel somebody's behind you, right? You don't know, you didn't hear them, but you feel like, someone's standing behind me, you look and there's somebody, right? So it's all extensions of those things on a much broader level. And the Jedi and Sith are one way of interpreting that. I've gone as far to say, when you're a great pilot or you're using the Force, probably you're in the moment. You can't push or pull things right to you. You don't have that discipline, but you're kinetically dodging a bunch of asteroids, right? Which the odds, according to 3PO, are almost impossible. What does that mean? When Han has this lack of faith in doing things, but having the Force doesn't mean you're a superhero. It doesn't. It's not that at all. It's just being in the moment and being kind of very true and flowing through the Force to do great things. We all have that moment. Athletes talk about being in the zone, and they'll say, "Well, I've only ever been in the zone twice my entire sports professional career." Jedi are in the zone way more often than not, but they're exceptional, and it takes training and discipline. Without these things, it's dangerous. And when don't you need training and discipline? When you're gifted, it comes to you easy, like Anakin. Thus, it comes to you easy. You might not value it as much as somebody that's fought hard to win that skill, to earn that skill. And when that happens, then you can unfortunately be corrupted. Like you see many gifted people become arrogant, and they think they're special. They think they're better than everyone else, and that's a feeling of power and control because it's given. Anakin, right? So these are the things that I just related to real life. So I'm just always interested in the Force. And Bendu is one of these guys just outside the realm of that. I like to think of Bendu as being really tired. You heard him in the episode yesterday. You woke me up from a deep slumber. And part of Bendu's thing is he would like to go back to sleep, but these rebels keep making all this noise. There's all this torment over there because they're like young compared to him, and they're so like babies crying in the background. And he's like, what is it?
See, and even that line, right? I took that to mean he was talking about their use of the Force as well, because they,
in a way, I mean, he respects their use of the Force, and he respects that they are their own discipline, but he's he could get tired of it and just kind of curl back up and go to sleep. Don't bother me, and again, Tom Baker is
that a Treebeard reference? Is it a kind of a throwback?
I would say that's inescapable. They're very similar in that regard, but it's funny because Taylor Gray has a hard time because Treebeard's a slow talker and a slow walker, and Taylor's so young and fast, and like he literally coined Ezra after that, where he's just like, So it's kind of a fun dynamic.
Well, really quickly,
speed round.
It up.
Yeah, I'll be short.
Working with Tim, building Thrawn.
The work was not so much. It's not like a lot of collaboration. It was more like, Tim, this is what we're doing. What are your thoughts? And we ingest kind of those ideas. And now as he's kind of written a book, I'm going to look at that and see where he's going with it. But I mean, everything that he did is stuff that we looked at to try to incorporate. So that's kind of learning. He gave us the blueprint and the blue guy. So we were ready to go, and now we kind of informed him with where we think we're going. So it's kind of that kind of collaboration. And the writer, like Henry, would talk to him a lot more because he would have time, and if Tim has concern, then I get notified about it. So it's more like that.
And he seemed pleased with what you guys were doing.
Yeah, thankfully so. Yeah, I'm glad to have him back.
We're all glad. What do you think of having blind Kanan? Was that something you decided early on, or is it something that came after you injured him?
It was something that we had discussed as early as season 1. Consequences for the character. It was something that I started pushing for, dynamic changes in the character. It was debated very hotly in the writer's room if we should or if we shouldn't. And once it happened, we elected finally, and once people saw what the results of it could be, we decided to really continue with it because it forces Kanan into change. And I didn't want it actually to become a situation where the fact that he was blinded meant that he was somehow less. He's not. He doesn't know that yet. He has to learn that. But I didn't want to make a statement in that direction either, because people do amazing things. People can, when compelled and when they have the willpower, I mean, you see real human beings do outstanding things, that probably see life in a much stronger way than I do for all of the things I possess with sight. So we're tapping into a bit of that with Kanan, which is maybe he can be more.
A lot of people with disabilities appreciated it.
Yeah, that's the hope, yeah.
You guys, I'm sorry, we have to run. I'm so sorry.
No worries. Great, guys. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you, man.
Thanks for coming all the way to London.
All right. So, anyway, how cool is that I was the first person to ask about that green mist in the trailer?
That is awesome. I'm so excited that you were able to do that. I didn't even see the green mist, so I need to watch that trailer again, apparently, and now I can't wait to watch the episodes. But in the 2 episodes that you saw, did you not see any green mist?
There was no green mist in those episodes.
Okay.
So, yeah, no green mist. It was only in that trailer, and he definitely looked like he was like, oh, okay, you're onto something. But again, I asked a question, and I did not get an answer that I was looking for, but I got at least something out of it. So
this seems to be a running thing with Dave Filoni and the fangirls, apparently, and everyone.
Well, everyone. Actually, we all sort of joked because he noted during the panel that the audience got really quiet and that he says they know now just to shut up and let him talk and hope that he'll
drop something.
So at one point we were like, maybe we should just go in there and not say anything and look at him and see if he just starts talking and gives something up. So that was one of the reasons that Chrissy Wu was kind of impressed that we were in there, like, trying to figure out how to get the most out of him. Like, we were game planning together. She's like, this is not normal. I'm like, yeah. Well, we've been around this rodeo for a while.
Yeah. So. That's hilarious. Well, okay, so Green Mist, of course, brings to mind from Clone Wars, Night Sisters, Mother Talzin. Doesn't she use Green Mist to bring back Maul?
Yeah. Yeah, that and Savage Opress.
Yeah.
When she's working with him.
Yeah, so...
Well, and just knowing that Maul's out there and he's got a history, so I'm really curious to see kind of where that all goes in season, coming up. But I have to say that without saying anything about the first 2 episodes that we got to see, that everybody's gonna really, really like what happens, and they move the story along, and everything that happened has affected people in there. I mean, if you even think about it, just when looking back on even the haircut, you don't think about it with Ezra. That it's like, oh, he changed his hair. Ezra has changed immensely, but it all makes sense. So everybody's going to love it. I can't wait till we can all live tweet and see that. So it's one of those things where you're like, oh, it's really cool, but I can't talk about it with anybody, but you guys are going to love it.
Well,
I know. I'm so jealous right now.
Is it as cinematic as that season finale for season 2?
There's a lot of really great visuals, but it's just it's really kind of grabs at your heartstrings. There's a lot of things going on, and it also is running. You can see how they're running straight towards the rebellion full steam now. Now it's not just about they're not about the rebels on Lothal anymore. Although Lothal's going to be an important player in everything, they state that. But yeah, it's going to be fun. But most of that trailer that you guys saw is from the first 2 episodes. There's the Green Mist is not, Wedge is not, so that's not giving anything away. But those things don't play into it. But then obviously that means that Thrawn does. So
yeah, they tend to do that. I've noticed the trailers are usually like those first couple of episodes of the season. Right. The thing that scares me a little bit with what you said, though, if they are running full steam, that I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last season of Rebels.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny that some people were worrying about that, but then he did get asked the question, and he didn't seem like that was I don't know, but I'm not as worried about it. He said there's a lot of stories to tell, so I'm not afraid of an ending and to go other places, because I feel like with stuff like Saw Gerrera and Ahsoka moving forward, that there's a lot of chances to see our favorite characters no matter what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sarah, we got to talk after the convention and on Skywalking Through Neverland. So you want to tell people about where they can find that?
Absolutely. So we snagged you like an hour after the convention ended. And Tricia, you're like, I'm available now. We're like, we're available now. Let's do it. So we recorded you on that Sunday, and on episode 129 of Skywalking Through Neverland, it's over an hour conversation with you of just recapping everything and all your press stuff, and kind of going into all of our reactions to the Rogue One and the Star Wars Rebels news. So we want to thank you so much for doing that, and tune in to Skywalking Through Neverland episode 129 for that.
And Teresa, it sounds like you've been doing some podcasting. So did you talk about this news from the convention on any place?
The only thing that I really talked about would have been the Thrawn stuff for Star Wars Bookworms. You can be looking forward to episode 59 of Star Wars Bookworms coming out sometime very soon. But I'll take this opportunity to just say that Disney Vault Talk has returned from its 2-month hiatus, and we returned big with The Emperor's New Groove, so you can catch that. And Atlantis is coming to you very soon, most likely next week. Also, with Galactic Fashion, that will be out next week, I believe. It's going to be featuring a lot of content from San Diego Comic-Con, some panel recordings, as well as some really cool news from the fashion show and some other things. So you can catch all of that awesomeness. And Fangirl Chat returned. There hasn't been an episode of Fangirl Chat since January, so Fangirl Chat is back. I'm shooting for 1 a month now, guys, so we'll see how that works out. But it's back with Finding Dory. Sarah and I got to take a chance to sit down and talk all things Finding Dory, so you can actually look for that right now in the Fangirl Chat feed on iTunes.
Woohoo!
Awesome! And I did just recorded a new episode of Hyperspace Theories to talk a little about the storytelling implications of things we saw, particularly my favorite experience, the ILM-X Lab virtual reality, where Han Solo talked to me and I wielded a lightsaber. So the possibilities for the future of Star Wars fans and being able to be involved in storytelling are endless. So, with that said, where can everybody be found? Teresa, you know the Twitter role.
I know it. All right, you can visit us over at fangirlsgoingrogue.com. That's our website. We keep you up to date with all of our episodes, so check us out over there. We are on Twitter. We are at FGGoingRogue. Tricia is at Fangirl Cantina. Sarah is at Jedi Tink, and I am at Ice Cold Penguin.
As always, you can email us at contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com. Facebook is Fangirls Going Rogue. Just type it in. There we are. Tumblr, fangirlsgoingrogue.tumblr.com.
So we are on Instagram at FGGoingRogue, and you can leave us a voicemail so you can hear your voice on the show. That is 33121 Ewoks, because that's fun to remember. And then always, we have Fangirls Going Rogue t-shirts, which are on sale at TeePublic right now. And TeePublic has also added phone cases, they've added mugs, and they've added like laptop cases. So go check that out. And to go there, all you have to do is go to fangirlsgoingrogue.com and click on the Support Us tab to find the link to TeePublic.
Awesome, and please go listen to iTunes. And if you really love this episode, leave a 5-star review. And if you didn't like it, then don't say anything and share this with your friends.
Like your mother said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. All right. Well, until next time. Da 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 da. Yup, yup. Yup, yup. We are always on Facebook, Fangirls Going Rogue, and Tumblr, fangirlsgoingrogue.tum. Oh, I'm reading what you just... Wait.
Yeah, you are. You can go to Instagram.
Okay, let me do that. Let me start over. Sorry.
Okay, now can I tell you?
Yes, I saw it. It's the Lego thing.
It's made out of Lego.
That's so amazing. And her hair is amazing.
Oh my God.
I want to know how she did her hair.
I saw she showed a sneak peek of that earlier.
Oh, cool. It's like the Ahsoka Aleku. Oh my God, it's freaking awesome.
All right, go shopping.